Yeah, you got to go for this. You can't let that one go through. The Ashe going to be locked in here. LGD saying, cool. We'll take LPC back on that Varus. Very happy with the way that game went for him. In fairness, he was doing exactly what he needed to do. And Meteor on the Sejuani, going back towards this very safe, engaged pick. And we saw it was a bit of a meme in terms of his build for the first few minutes. But guess what, Lyric? The first few minutes didn't matter because by the time we ended the game, he was probably already 6 items.
Yeah. Pretty much everyone was full build by the time by the time game 1 ended. Wukong seems like it's Xiaolongbao's preference over the Sejuani anyway coming into this week, which is kind of strange because he hadn't even played Wukong coming into this week, at least this split. Was Maokai, Sejuani, Vi, center jungler. And now for Pout, I mean, I wonder if you just end up going for mid here once again, get your hands on the Azir. At least this time around, you wouldn't have to worry about the Kassadin. And we saw that he was one of the people being able to dictate a lot, would leave it so your AD carry pool would get pinched, which is what looks like was on NIP's mind, as they do end up just locking in the Jhin.
Lock in the Jhin again. Photic trying to see if he can make that lethality into crypt build work one more time. And again, you know, LPC and JinJiao just kind of saying, look, we'll take the priority we've got. It is a little bit harder for them to kind of maintain that priority, I would imagine, just because you have got the Ashe. I would expect us to see a little bit of level 1 shenanigans as we see both. Generally, when we have a Heimerdinger and the Ashe in the same game, they both want to get control of that very far brush, depending on what side they're on. So both teams are going to be trying to gain control over that, you would imagine, the first few seconds of the game. But now, with bot lanes and junglers locked in, we are going to see LGD swapping up the picks just a little bit, saying, look, we're going to get rid of that Azir. It was an issue. It was something that we might not have been able to deal with had we not had the Kassadin, and the Kassadin's already banned.
I also liked that they take it away when you think about, like, sure, it could have been an option for them themselves, but you already have the Sejuani, so you always, I think, want to keep the possibility of those melees in mid lane there, right? The Sylas, the Akali. You hit on the Renekton Flex in game 1 draft, which I believe is something that Haichao has even played once this split. So taking away some of those options does leave that available. So now they could go for something like a Sylas or an Akali if they wanted, or you could look for what still is, in my mind, just the go-to option in top lane. So getting their hands on the Ksante, going to give them a lot of room to work with in regards to engage options. Also just going to let Xiaoxu be a bit of a brick wall up there in top side that will be hard for NIP to exploit.
Yeah, and look, you know, Ksante, he does it all. Engages, 1v1s, builds full tank, has crap tons of damage. He is a bit of an issue at the moment on 13.1, but with that being locked in, it does mean that Ninja's Pyjamas are kind of saying, look, we respect the fact that the Sylas can go over to you, and we think that we can utilize it ourselves. So getting themselves options like the Ksante Ultimate, of course, the Sejuani and the Chain of Corruption, you know, are definitely options as well. And like you mentioned earlier, comboing in with that Sejuani, the Akali locked and loaded here for Haichao. So roughly the same kind of draft we've seen there from LGD, not as much late game scaling as such, but they are still going for that same kind of style of utilizing that bot lane pressure to gain advantages in the early stages. Whereas NIP, I mean, with the Wukong, again, they're looking to try and put pressure on Meteor. They're looking to try and make sure that they can kind of move around. This time around, though, with the Ashe, if they can get that going, the power you get with that unnerfed Umbral Glaive can just give you so much control around this map.
Yeah, and NIP definitely being the ones to change it up, right? In game 1, very much having, as we saw, it's kind of like disengage, kite them back with your range.
Oh, it's got to antagonize someone at some point. But Lyric, we're jumping in, and exactly what I thought would happen here. NIP looking to try and overload this bot side, make sure this Heimerdinger does not get his early start. And you can see already they are just kind of making sure no more than one turret goes down, and even then that turret's not going to do a lot after that.
Nope. Well, just like said, taking that
one
away. Yeah, using that one outright to move things along. And for NIP, I mean, they at least have a bot lane that can contest this time around, right? In game 1, they had the Yuumi. That's something you knew was going to concede pressure early on. Having the Ashe, having the Halo Blades there, they're going to be able to contest and try and match that. So at least this time, having a bot lane that could potentially neutralize, can go even. You have a mid lane matchup that's going to be ultimately a wash as well. And a lot of it this time should actually just come down to those skirmishes. And NIP hopefully will be going into the mid-game on more even footing. And mid-game was where we saw them be stronger than LGD in game 1.
Absolutely, it was. LGD kind of mitigating a lot of what NIP were trying to do in the early stages, but then NIP came back much stronger. But as the late game fights came on, LGD got a lot more confidence in themselves and made themselves a little bit more known, as we will see Photic trying to put down some hurt alongside Zhuo on this bot side. The Ashe is just so powerful in all senses of the word. She really does. Even level 1, the volley does damage. The passive on the auto attack slowing you down means you're able to chase someone forward. So if you go a little bit too far forward, you are going to be in a lot of hurt, as we can see. Photic, you need your support there, my mate. You need to make sure you're walking up as a team. You know, it's a buddy system. You got to make sure that works for you.
Still going to be able to zone them out from the wave, but you're right. LGD taking at least the more advantageous trade early on. And looking at junglers and how this impacts that, right? We saw a ward did go down onto Xiaolongbao's blue buff. They had an inkling he was going to start towards that bot side anyway because of how long he spent around bot in that level 1 to just guarantee that LGD don't get the send up. But now confirming for sure that he should be doing his full bot quadrant with the fact that that ward just timed out. So at least LGD do have some information to play with. And we can see once again their soul lanes being the ones with Prio so far.
Perfect angle there. If you're ever wondering why they go for that specific angle, they bring it all the way from top to bottom. It hits every single camp. So you are guaranteed at all points to be able to figure out where the jungler is. It's quite annoying for any kind of jungle mains out there. And LGD recognize, look, that's just part of the game. We let this Ashe go through. We let it go first pick. We have to just let that one happen. But XLB shows himself towards that mid lane, clears out a ward nice and early, and does push himself now towards his top side. Not going to be able to go for any ganks just yet. And Invincible being pushed back quite a bit here. Needs to be a little bit careful. That knockback is a hell of a lot more of a distance than you actually realize it is. But at the moment, just doing what all Gangplanks do best and surviving until he gets that nice little bit of gold in his back pocket. But Xiaoxu needs to be aware that there is a Wukong in the vicinity, but XLB not really going to be able to make something work from this. Not without any hard CC.
No, and once again, I mean, just the Prio coming out to set up for the plays around topside to make sure that LGD are the ones who get the Scuttle Crab and then back off just fine. At least this time around, we don't have like cheeky wraparounds into like the early ganks that Xiaolongbao is having to try to manipulate and try to work around. So, again, a lot of different factors that at least make this early game not as in favor of LGD like it was back in game 1.
I like this little stat we get as well. We're getting this a lot, which I'm loving to see from our production, either side of the language barrier. But you know, 7 wins across the board, so 14 games. You've been seeing Heimerdinger versus Ashe 7 apiece. Is a very curious one there. So no real definitive answer of which one would be quote unquote stronger. And speaking of being stronger, Xiaoxu need the strength. He doesn't have flash. He has ghost. He's going to lose his knock-up now in 2 seconds. Here we go. Invincible moving forward. Yeah, you can see Xiaoxu recognizing, look, there's got to be something up here. There has to be someone around. Otherwise, he wouldn't be playing this aggressive with this low mana and this low health.
Low HP, low mana. Like, Ksante wins in the 1v1 matchup because how easy it is to stack those Qs up against Gangplank anyway, like we're seeing here. So, good read by him. Going to be able to maintain control. But Meteor going for the gank.
He is going for the gank. He is going to be able to get... Oh, it kind of swaps his priority in terms of the damage.
They
but
got it.
auto attack. They got him down. Photic taking a lot of work as well. No piercing arrow to come out. And that's a 1-0 start. First blood to LGD. Really nicely done by Meteor.
Great game coming out from the LGD bot lane. They get bolt sums from Zhuo. They get the kill. Wave goes in, so they're going to be denying Photic some gold and experience as well. I will still give kudos to Photic, though, having the discipline to hold on to that flash. Not getting scared by the potential damage that could have been there. It's going to be here, straight into the Scuttle Crab. They have a ward, not expecting the terrain that Meteor is able to traverse to make sure that this gank goes through. Trying to use the heal to buy some distance, but then Meteor still guaranteeing the CC, comboed with the grenade. Beautiful chain for LGD to pick up first blood.
Done. Yeah, really, really well played. And honestly, it was funny because it looked like NLP just had like a little bit of a spidey sense to switch because they had no vision of where the sejuani was. They went, wait a minute, we're super far pushed up. And all of a sudden, oh God, they started to run away without any real vision or knowledge of where Meteor is. But it was too little, too late. And getting those 2 sums off. This is what we're seeing as well with the Ashe. The Ashe is one of those weird picks where, yes, it is exceptionally powerful. If it can get up to the Imperial Mandate and the Umbral Glaive, you have got so little that you can actually do to go against it. But if it falls behind, if it doesn't actually get up to those items and become a bit of a nuisance in that mid game, it does end up being very squishy, very easy to kill off, and honestly, a bit of a liability for your team. You kind of just become a stun bot a little bit, and honestly, a traveling ward as well. So now Meteor looking to see if he can maybe make something work in this bot side. He knows this Ashe does not have any summoners, but they know he just cleared it off a ward, so the NIP bot lane acting very, very defensive, and rightfully so.
Yeah, I'm going to know exactly what he's doing just now. Meteor not going to want to go for this being spotted out. Xiaoxu heading towards his bottom side. Pings actually coming out around the mid lane. Might get a bit of a tussle.
A little bit of a tussle, but it's all just hands at the moment. It's just showing off bravado, you know, beefing up your chest, kind of like, you know, you want to go, bro? You want to go? Well, who wants to go is actually in the top side. Invincible forced to flash as the all-out was used. Xiaoxu just putting in so much work. And again, he does it all. He builds full tank and he does damage.
And Gangplank's one of those champions that, you know, of course, like scales and does damage, but actually does have a lot of like favorable matchups into many champions, so kind of does both. But Ksante, not one of them, is Meteor has just been putting up so much pressure in this early game so far. And it's looking a little bit like game one, where sure, you at least have the tools to neutralize things like, you know, bot lane matchup, but still not necessarily there in terms of being able to set up plays for Xiaolongbao, as he hasn't been able to find anything just yet. Once ultis come online, things like the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, though, I mean, you'll have a plethora of options all across the map.
A plethora of options, and again, we're seeing LGD kind of come out to a little bit of an early lead, using the priority they have in bot side to move themselves fairly well around the map. But honestly, what I love about this particular jungle path coming out from LGD is that, from Meteor obviously, is that he's keeping himself away from XLB. He's not allowing XLB to kind of bully him away like we would normally see a Wukong in the early stages. And by putting himself on opposite sides of the map, as the curtain call comes out, it is going to be LPC forced to flash away. Does dodge out from the third and the fourth shot as well. So I was going to say that I was just praising them, but again, losing very little. Yes, you lose a flash in the bot side, but you're gaining the Rift Herald, and with that means that you have got so much more priority to be able to kind of move around the map and get yourself advantages that you might not have been able to get before.
Yeah, we're going to need to see those advantages come to fruition. Meteor now, though, is going to head down to this bot side. So it looks like LGD realizing that they have prio to go for the Drake, especially since resets did just come on through. Even Haichao making his way back to lane now. Be able to catch this wave, and yeah, no response. Gonna be able to come out for NIP. I feel like you have to start looking for vision somewhere. And Channel Crystal Arrow.
That is oh, he could have finished his recall there. Invincible actually walks himself away. It was a little nice little bit of movement, or not lack of movement, that proved the thing there from Xiaoxu. He actually might look for a full engage here. He's got Ghost, he's got the all-out as well. He's looking to try and get behind him. There goes the ultimate here from Invincible. You can see them looking to try and make this one work. He gets the 1v1, but XLB is there to turn it all around. It's a 1-for-1 trade as NIP finally get themselves on the board.
Xiaoxu manages to get it, but I'm surprised wasn't able to read that Xiaolongbao would at least be in the vicinity, considering the Enchanted Crystal Arrow only came out like 15 seconds ago. And I mean, there's no way Invincible would look for that all in just by himself. Still, 1-for-1. I think as NIP, like, you're going to take those when Invincible has been struggling so heavily in this 1v1. But it's left Meteor still to just control vision around this bot side, allow JinJiao to get down a lot of these deep wards, and continue for JinJiao and LPC to try and lay down this punishment.
Continually putting it in. Haven't gotten the plate just yet, as both the AD carries working on their tiers, and of course their Youmuu's Ghost Blades, you would imagine, as a first item. And there was an interesting one as well. We always see a lot of pro players talking about this, is that the Youmuu's Ghost Blade, it's like, look, having that extra bit of movement speed, getting, you know, to kind of maybe even delay your boots if you really want to, the extra little bit of movement is just good enough for me to be able to, you know, change the position, change where I'm looking to try and go for it, and add that little bit of outplay ability. So we generally see a little bit more priority on the active there, as Haichao is just doing what he does best at the moment in this laning phase. He's just been kind of putting in work onto this Sylas, putting in work onto Pout, to be perfectly honest, and really making a nuisance of himself. We will see now 2 plates go over to Xiaoxu in that top side. He just backs himself away as well. So far, so good for LGD. They have got themselves a 1,000 gold lead, just a little bit above it. Got a dragon to the good as well. Even a Rift Herald there to be used whenever they see fit. And with 3 minutes to the next dragon until it spawns, we should maybe see that Rift Herald used just before that because they want to try and get those juicy, juicy plates.
Meteor maybe going to look to even use it in the mid lane. Yeah, just drops it outright and going to head down towards spot. So drop Herald in mid, just double down on the pressure that Haichao already has and start to lean towards bot lane. You can see on the minimap, though, Photic and Zhuo are giving a lot of respect to this play. They're going to clear out vision, but with Xiaolongbao here, you shouldn't expect really anything more to pan out from this. Oh, maybe not.
A lot of work. Yeah, they're going to go fully commit there. That's a hell of a lot of damage on the JinJiao. Flash in, the second part of the Cyclone, but a flash out. Cleanse used as the Chain of Corruption moves forward. They need to get the last auto attacker. Thought they were going to leave him there to not die. As now Zhuo tries to flash away, but it's an Akali. She's going to have the second R now in a couple of seconds. JinJiao is in a lot of trouble. They need to block that final shot. They're looking for it, and they still find him. Pout gets him in on top of himself. That's the Heimerdinger going down now. Trying to see if he can get another kill here. You got the Akali coming out, trying to make this one work, but without a sejuani, I think Haichao has just signed his death sentence. Triple kill coming in for Pout, and this is why NIP brought him into the lineup.
Pout just taking advantage of all the chaos in that bot lane with this teleport. Things were looking so good for LGD at the start of that skirmish, but at the end of the day, Photic, Machine, maybe we're not done. Maybe we're not done.
We might not be done just yet. Photic does have that 4th shot, though, so he will chunk the ever-living Christ out of that Varus. But let's have a look at this fight here again, because they commit everything onto Meteor, but it's JinJiao who's, again, still the Swixty Heimerdinger.
NIP, they just see how far LPC is because he was showing on the wave, and they think they have the damage here. But you saw Photic actually wasn't able to get too many autos off in that exchange. Allows for the kill onto Meteor to come through. Photic's even forced to flash out. And then Haichao running down Zhuo in the meantime. This feels like it has to be the call of where LGD's members have to be like, okay, guys, we got 1 for 2. We need to get the hell out for dodge. JinJiao is going to go down because they can see the TP coming through. And then trying to buy time for Haichao to make his way back into the fight. But Pout, coming in full HP, having all of his abilities available, manages to clean it up. 3-0-0 now in the Sylas. Rod of Ages in pocket.
Yeah, that is huge. You're probably looking at that last fight and going, my God, why did the Sylas have so much burst? Remember, when he steals the Chain of Corruption, he gets the Blighted Quivers, which gives you the active of when you hit someone with an ability, it does the true damage. So it's just such a powerful ultimate to be able to give to. Now we got to go for another fight as XLB. He's been caught out and he's been killed 6 seconds before Dragon. And now Pout's going forward. I don't know if he wanted to do that. He's going to have to try and use the Akali ultimate to get himself out and alive. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. Just about survives, but that's just before Dragon. LGD should be able to stabilize themselves and get themselves up at the 2.
LGD, they're going to be able to look for this. It doesn't even matter that Invincible having Cannon Barrage on the top side with no jungle available, with Pout being so low, will just be an objective secured for LGD. LPC's keeping up push in the bot lane, so LGD just feeling very comfortable. Feels like this is the scenario where Xiaolongbao, you can see now headed up towards top side. Try and make your way there, maybe get some vision down, and see if you can just prevent a pivot into Rift Herald for LGD. We're going to jump straight into the replay. The patience coming on through, playing off that vision that they just had. They force out the clone very early, and just, I mean, great chain, right? You see the Shuriken flip come through, able to match it up with the Glacial Prison from Meteor, and I mean, Xiaolongbao is just gone.
I mean, Xiaolongbao has just not been really able to take a step towards Meteor in this game. It feels like Meteor has been just the better jungler of the 2, and the 4 objectives that he's just about to secure himself right now will confirm that. You got to imagine TP going to be coming in. That's going to be Invincible on that bot side, but that means you've left the top lane to get a little bit more damage done to it as well, as Xiaoxu has pretty much taken that on his own. He has not seen the Sejuani at all this game, but has gotten himself the tower, got himself a solo kill, and has been doing absolute work here on this Ksante. Rift Herald secured as well. You've got Invincible on that bot side, but they can be answered pretty damn quickly. You can see there Haichao just moving down, going to be able to soak up that wave, you'd imagine. And this is all LGD, but similar to game number 1, LGD took the early lead. It was NIP who brought it back. As Haichao, he might find himself looking, he's a level down, but he's looking for a full-on engage. Doesn't land the shuriken flip, so doesn't want to try and force it too hard.
Good call in the end. Xiaoxu was hovering down, so that could have even just gone awry very quickly. But both teams looking to stabilize the map right now is...
Wait, oh,
okay. I mean, they canceled this recall, so look at the mini-map. Pout is pushing in top lane. That is going to delay the answer being up there. Haichao doesn't even have TP, though I don't think you'd want to commit TP just to catching that wave, but still it's going to leave a few CS, maybe even the whole wave, just going down up and top unanswered. So, you know, not the biggest trade-off for an Enchanted Crystal Arrow, but for an ability that, like I said, is on a relatively low cooldown, you're not going to end up using that in the next, 30, 40 seconds regardless. So, still finding value.
Still finding a lot of value. Come back in and see where Ninja Pyjamas can get this out. Again, you look at the Sylas. That's where your money is. You've got the stopwatch, and that indicates to me very early on that Pout knows that the next mid-game fight could be key. The next fight, which is probably in 2.5 minutes when that third dragon spawns, is going to be pivotal for this team to try and just bring themselves back into this game. And Invincible moving up towards what I imagine is the Immortal Shield Bow to try and keep himself some survivability, but he really just can't do a lot right now against Xiaoxu. See now Meteor popping down this Rift Herald. They're going to be able to crack open this bot lane, and this is just more pressure, more priority given over to LGD as they look to try and just give this Ocean Soul, another Ocean Soul, mind you, their win condition in this game.
I mean, they're going to have so many to play with. That's one thing I've really liked. We talked about it in game 1, but even game 2, just having a draft that gives you options in terms of how you're able to play out. Is Xiaoxu now maybe regretting his decisions?
Yeah, might be regretting it just a little bit. Doesn't quite go down and ends up using the ghost to make sure he secures his exit. But Shelly got to do her favorite thing twice and bash her head into 2 turrets. One dead, one only about a third of its HP left. Meteor. Oh, Ksante does get hit by the back end of that and will be stunned for a hell of a long time. Hasn't got himself Merc Treads just yet. The all-out comes out to get him away. Flash is used. And it is going to be a 2v1 kill going over to Invincible. Does get a little bit of revenge for that kill earlier.
Isn't it ridiculous that even with that health lead, Cannon Barrage, Enchanted Crystal Arrow, that it looked like Xiaoxu would have potentially won that if it was just an outright 1v1?
Yeah.
Isn't that insane?
I mean, look, I'm not here to decide what is good, what is bad. I'm just here to cast it, as we do see Pout using that Akali ultimate to see if he can maybe get into position to make something happen. Gonna have the R2 now in a second. Meteor moving forward now to see if he can catch out Invincible, but XLB realizes maybe we've stayed a little bit too long. A TP is going to be used. They don't care about you right now, Gangplank. Never mind, they do. They just took too long to figure it out. The TP was used, and they are able to get Invincible out. Immortal Shield Bow finished up. And Dragon spawning in 27 seconds, but no TP, and no Cannon Barrage for the moment, so LGD still very much on the front foot.
Like, looking at items, I just love that. I guess it wasn't a one-off because of the Pout coming out. Meteor is bringing the essence of SOFM in the league. You know, we miss SOFM.
We do.
The Warmogs on everything was always great, but Meteor, once again, sticking with
Double Kindle Gem. Why? Because cooldown. I do believe the LCS played that last night. I think I saw some Malden tweets. Flash used there by JinJiao to make sure he doesn't get caught, but it is Haichao who has to take the brunt of that damage. Now you can see the curtain call coming in. Xiaoxu tanking all of those remaining shots. Now Haichao, without a TP, means he can't really be a part of this fight. Your health bar is such an important resource to you in these games. Pout does steal away the Glacial Prison. Bot lane pushing in favor, or excuse me, top lane pushing in favor of LGD, and with the poke coming out from the Varus, they may have enough time here to try and get this Akali back.
And I mean, a lot of key tools from NIP have already been blown. You're hoping for those long-range tools to guarantee you a pick that leads into a winning fight, but Xiaoxu, he's wrapping around. They know he's there, though.
Yeah, Pout Down to about a third of his HP. I don't know if you can go for this fight. Yes, you've got good healing here as the Sylas, but he's going to have to go back and maybe TP back in. He knows he doesn't have time because this dragon has been taken so low so quickly, with Haichao just doing exactly what he did in game number 1, being a nuisance, pushing himself forward. XLB tries to go forward, immediately has to flash away. And the dragon is secured. That is Ocean Soul point now for LGD, and they're in a better spot they were in than game number 1.
LGD, I mean, they've been in full control this whole time. It hasn't translated into like a massive gold lead or a tremendous kill, disparity being in their favor or anything, but very clearly controlling the map this whole time, signaled by those 3 dragons, and they've been fine just playing out with this 1-3-1. Meteor hasn't felt too pressured to look for plays after how well he set up his laners in the early game, and all the onus is now on NIP to find picks like we were talking about. Both compositions, I think, should fare decently well in like 5v5s. Again, it comes on like setup, the vision that's already there, what angles you're coming through. But one area that is indexed more heavily in NIP's favor is long-range pick, curtain call, enchanted crystal arrow. Pout can steal away the glacial prison from Meteor.
Barrage.
Yeah, cannon. It's just so many different tools. We need to see them utilize those to catch off a stray member of LGD and that lead into a fight. The fact that so many tools got burned in that last fight and turned into nothing is what signals like, okay, NIP shouldn't really be able to do anything in this position anymore.
Absolutely, and I think, you can see as well, just going with a slightly easier to execute composition from LGD, I feel like your engage options are far more straightforward. You've got Xiaoxu and Meteor running forward, the Chain of Corruption maybe to follow up, or even to try and start off a pick. Haichao gets onto the backside, use long range from the Heimerdinger and the Varus to, again, be a nuisance. But these little things are coming in. I will say the 10 stacks, or the 10th stack of the Rod of Ages should be coming in now any second here for Pout, as everything misses in that mid lane. Look, you got to try it all. Nothing really ventured, nothing really gained. But now we will see another level lead coming in. So this could be a 2-level lead, you would imagine, here for Pout over Haichao. And that's where this game gets a little bit worse, because a level 16 Sylas can just take over a game, just having multiple resets on his ultimate, on his hijack to steal all these fantastic ultimates can be a difference maker.
Yeah, we're going to be looking at him taking away Meteors especially. Even LPCs will be solid. A lot of, like I'd say everyone's ultimate on the side of LGD's side is, like, fine to good to tank, but those are really the key ones to be able to start off those fights, and I think just index more heavily into what your composition already does. Does take away Haichao's ultimate for now, so we'll be able to keep up that pressure in the 1v1. As we pivot to items, no real key neutral objectives are up, but still getting closer to break points as it looks like Xiaolongbao. As I pause because another arrow sheen turns into nothing.
Yeah. Xiaolongbao's on a ward, and they know he's on a ward, so they're going to TP in immediately. It's going to be answered straight away by Pout as they try and get the Cyclone used by XLB to keep himself alive, but so much CC means he's got nothing to do. They are fighting in the cannon barrage because they do not care right now, Lyric. They do not give a damn about what you do. There's not even an objective to really go for right now. You could maybe look for the Baron, but this is on the bot side of the map.
LGD just feeling confident. Their vision has given them so much information this game. We've seen so many times, like a stray member of NIP standing on a ward, which allows for LGD to go with the appropriate response to any given play. Like you said, though, with no objectives up, it isn't going to be able to turn into anything tangible. Going back to items, even more so now, Pout going to get the Zhonya's in pocket. That is a huge one for being able to buy time and build space in a teamfight. Haichao going more for outright damage with that Shadow Flame coming through. And, we're just going to keep tracking pace of the Radiant Virtue for Meteor. It's getting there. Not quite done yet.
Almost.
But we're almost there.
I mean, like I said, look, it hasn't, I will be honest, the Warmog's first versus Radiant hasn't really been relevant. It hasn't really made a big difference in all things, shape, or form, but
he stayed on the map for a long time. Look at those, that CS lead. Look at it.
30 CS. You know what? You're right. You gotta call me out like that sometimes, because you're absolutely correct. Meteor is clearly on a much different level of jungler playing right now, and the next dragon spawning in 30 seconds. You would imagine he will need to be on point. Still no level 16 for Pout, so not quite at end game Sylas levels, but plenty of healing reduction available to LGD as we now move towards this fight. Both teams really want to try and make this one work. I wonder if we did get another finished item for Xiaoxu. If a third item on the Ksante would be huge.
Xiaoxu's a player we also have to keep our eye on going into this one. Ghost is up, has the ulti online. Flash is pretty much there across the board. Haichao might be caught.
He is a little bit caught, but he's going to go back in as he's going to get hit by the hijack. They jump straight in. Chain of Corruption misses. There's the Cannon Barrage, but it's only peppering down the damage onto JinJiao. One more hit from an ultimate of the Jhin would be enough to kill off the Akali, but it's not going to be enough. Now the poke war comes in. This is where Meteor can reset. Look at him. Look, the Warmog's coming in clutch right now. He knows he can come back into this fight, and it's all on LPC and JinJiao to make sure they're the ones putting out damage. Meteor back to full HP. There's going to be a TP coming in. Neither mid laner has a TP, so it's a native 4v4 for the moment. Dragon has been started, but they back themselves away. No real vision here for Xiaoxu. He needs to be very careful how he moves forward, but they're doing no damage to him. They are literally 280 carries trying to take him down, and they're barely tickling him right now.
They're not doing anything, Ashe. They can't do anything to him.
Here we go. Pout's finally back on the rift. Haichao doesn't have his ultimate available. Haichao should be there and available to him, so he's going to look to try and get it. There's a good ultimate there. Lands on top of Meteor. Chain of Corruption has already come back. Stolen. Confirmed by NIP, but now the fight can really come in. They're going to have Invincible try and tank up as much as he possibly can. The all-out to maybe get a little bit of 1v4. Look at this damage coming out right between the sticks. You get another kill. 4 kills. And it's just a lonely little Ashe. Zhuo trying to see if he can get in the brush right there, but Haichao is going to take you down. Haichao is going to make sure you are not left alone. All of them go to the gray screen. It's a perfect ace. They didn't get the dragon, but they're going to get a Baron.
LGD absolutely massacring NIP in that one. You highlighted it. They're going to go straight towards the Baron. NIP, they deny the soul, but doesn't feel like it's all too relevant when LGD are going to be able to start pushing this lead forward. I mean, a Baroned up Akali 5-1 in the side lane is going to be a menace, but straight into the replay, we already saw how much space that Xiaoxu was buying on the back end of this fight, and sadly, Gangplank Barrel not really able to turn into much a bit of damage on Meteor. But here, Xiaoxu on the backline denies Photic and Zhuo from being able to do anything from this fight, and he is such a nuisance. All members of NIP have to commit to following this home. Invincible has to flash over the wall. LPC is able to easily follow that. Haichao, my God, covering so much distance with the Shuriken flip and his ultimate. The amount of bursts that's there, they get taken down. Xiaoxu, in my mind, really was the hero of that fight with how much zone control and how much presence he was bringing to that backline.
I mean, it felt like a 1v4 at some points there for Xiaoxu, and I still favored him. I still thought he was going to win, and lo and behold, he did. Did have the follow-up, and like you said, Haichao just covering the distance to make sure that his top laner, his fellow solo laner, was not left alone. And now we come back into live. It's a 7,000 gold lead coming up to it now. We do see an ultimate used there. It's going to force LPC into an immediate cleanse, and that's the power of it. They need to start blocking him. JinJiao! What the hell, man? You gotta block that stuff. You can't just let LPC get that low, but no harm, no foul. He does not fall down. And that's, again, a lot of damage being used.
JinJiao's a grizzled veteran of the LPL. He's like, boy, you have to go through the pain and trauma that I've been through to be built up into a real degenerate that is an LPL player.
I don't know if that's how I want to be describing our players, but you know, I'll go with it. It makes me feel at home. But we're having a little bit of a skirmish now into this mid lane. The two
in the best possible way, Ashe. In the best possible way.
Absolutely. As we come in, we see now a wave being pushed in on the bot side. Lots of damage being put in on either side, but no one really falling down just yet. There's a couple of minions now in mid lane. You got to cover multiple sides. You're being stretched, as we can see LPC just dodging out with Haichao to make sure they do not lose out on this push. And that's mid lane tier 3 taken off. So you've got yourself an inhibitor exposed. You might have another one exposed now in a second or two because you still have 45 seconds of Baron. You got no Ashe Arrow for at least 30. This is going to be the base pretty much in tatters. NIP got to make a decision, but their engage is XLB and he hasn't got flash.
No, and even looking for LPC, who doesn't have flash himself, but has the stopwatch there to be able to manage to get away. And now with Xiaoxu joining in the group, it is putting a lot of pressure on, but Meteor getting chunked.
Yeah, now JinJiao saying, all right,
Xiaoxu.
I'll tank that one, but now Xiaoxu finds Invincible. They're going in onto Pout. They're trying to see if they can take him out. He does stop Haichao with a little bit of an abscond abduct, but you can see Xiaoxu underneath 2 towers with the ultimate, trying to see if he can take him out. He wants XLB, but he's not going to be able to find him just yet. Nexus turret number 1 does fall. Ninjas and Pyjamas are still 4-man strong. These are low enough health bars, but those piercing arrows are doing just that, piercing through NIP's defense as NIP finally take down the Ksante. Nexus turret number 2 goes down. Jesus, where did the Jhin go? And now the Nexus exposed. Pout goes golden. LGD will take their first 2-0 and over NIP of all teams. This was just dominating from LGD.
Great performance from LGD. 6 games. They were on a 6-game lose streak coming into this one, sitting 1-5 in the standings, and then to go against a team who, sure, NIP have had their struggles, but they just took down the team that, you know, might not be projected to be first at the end of the split, but still 5-1, sitting first in the LPL right now. LG, NIP just beat them in their last series, now going down 0-2. I liked the drafts coming out from LGD. The play overall was solid and had sparks of individuality, especially in some of the builds we saw. I'm not one to give props to coaches. I came in 2020, right? I used to be a coach. People